Hi, my name is Shereen and I'm a producer and the founder of Spark Studios. Spark Studios is a creative brand agency, and what we specialize in is creating content marketing for companies that are in the finance space around topics of finance, business, and tech. I'm from the Middle East. I'm actually from Bahrain, which is an hour away from Dubai, where I currently operate Spark Studios. And what that allows me to bring to the table when working with my clients is local experience to create content that resonates with the Arab Middle Eastern population. In addition to my time in the Middle East, I spent some time abroad where I studied in London and New York. And what that has allowed me to do is to bring an international caliber when it comes to work and work ethic out here in the Middle East. The way I founded Spark Studios is in 2020, I found myself stuck at home. I found myself thinking, you know what, I've spent about 12 years in the professional industry, always bound to a physical office. And I decided that it was time to make a change and build a career that allowed me to have the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to. Now, at the time, I was actually fascinated with consuming content myself. I spent hours on end consuming the type of media that I wanted to listen to. And I soon actually realized that companies in the financial industry don't produce content that is as engaging. And about the same time, I was trying to figure out what my next career path should be. And that's when I had a bit of an aha moment. So at the time, I reread a book that didn't make sense to me when I first read it when I was 22 years old, which is Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. But when I reread it at the age of, I think I was 31, I realized that there was actually wisdom in what Tim had to say. So what he had done is he had built a career that allowed him to live the kind of lifestyle he wanted. I took the time to evaluate what actually mattered to me in my life, what my values were. And I came to realize that it was pretty obvious. It was my friends and family that were actually scattered all across the world. So at that point, I decided, you know what, let me find a career and build a career that allowed me to be not bound by a geography or an office. So I then sat and sought inspiration from Tim Ferriss himself. He has a media empire that he's built that allows him to have this kind of boundless lifestyle. So I actually started by building an experiment. I thought, you know what, why not start a podcast myself? And that's when I started being a content creator. You see, I thought to myself, why not teach myself what podcasting is all about? So I taught myself how to produce, how to do programming, how to distribute. I bought all my own gear online. I learned everything I needed to on platforms like Coursera. And that's when I built my first podcast show. And I just put that content out there in the world. I had to first overcome this fear of having to worry about what people said about me, someone who didn't come from a media background, all of a sudden entering the media space. I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. But honestly, all it took was believing that I knew what I was doing, and I put my first piece of content out there. I was lucky in that the career that I was in already gave me a platform and an audience. You see, I used to work for a fintech accelerator, and a lot of the founders in the space and in the Middle East already knew who I was. So when I put this piece of content and marketed it on LinkedIn, I soon found an audience. A couple of episodes in, the founder of a fintech startup actually reached out to me looking to build a podcast for his own platform. And he offered me a chance to come and build a podcast with him. And that's how I had this aha moment that I could actually monetize the new skills that I learned that is in podcast and media production, and that I could do it for other brands looking to do branded content so that they can communicate with their audiences more meaningfully and in a better way to effectively grow as a business. Soon when I pumped that piece of branded content out in the world, funny enough, their competitors saw what I was doing and came and reached out to me and said, we love what you're doing for company X, why don't you come do it for us? And that's when I had an aha moment that I could actually build a business out of this. I had enough interest in the market, I had found product market fit, and that gave me the confidence to go and launch Spark Studios. Soon enough, something interesting started happening. I soon found clients come to me and say, hey, it's great that you do audio podcasting, but do you do video podcasting? And in addition, hey, can you also expand and write for us? Maybe take some of the content that you discuss as a host, you and your guests, produce blog content and newsletter for us. And soon I found an opportunity to actually go into media, but above and beyond just podcasting. Yes, podcasting was a popular medium back then, but there was definitely opportunity to help clients in the space expand and grow through content marketing, whether it was through video, audio, or even editorial. I soon realized down my journey that actually whether brands were communicating through whatever form, video, audio, or editorial, they were actually storytelling. And it's all about how they as brands communicate who they are, their values to their customers, and get their buy-in through the messaging in that storytelling, then that would be the key to acquiring them as customers. And in fact, it's important not just for the brands to share their story, but also for the people that work in the brands to share why they believe in the brand, why they work there. So often I'll find that with the clients that I work with, above and beyond doing work for them as the client, as the company, the founders, the company heads also needed some help in telling their story better on mediums like LinkedIn and Instagram. One of the biggest lessons learned building Spark Studios is that you need to always go back to your why. I always, when working with my clients, prompt them and say, hey, with this piece of content we're building, why are we building it? What are your goals and KPIs? I often find that even for myself as a founder, I need to stop and say, why? Why am I taking on this new client or this piece of work, or, pushing Spark Studios in a particular trajectory? And I advise everyone to do the same. Another thing that I've reflected on quite a lot in the type of business that Spark Studios is whether I'm operating as a freelancer contractor or building a business. You see, freelancers go about their time very differently than the way founders and CEOs go about the time. When you're a freelancer contractor, it's about you and the time that you sell. And it's very easy in a business like the business Spark Studios is in for me to focus solely on selling my time or my team's time, when in fact growing a business is something else entirely. You have to find out what are your medium and long-term objectives and see how can you scale and grow the business to reach those objectives, and in fact sacrifice time building your business in the medium and long term as opposed to then selling that time for a client as a contractor freelancer. Now, many of you listening to this may well be employees who are considering taking the entrepreneurial leap and are pretty scared. Now, I get that. I was there. In fact, I spent 12 years having a corporate job, having a stable income, and I found the concept of not having that stability pretty tricky. One thing I did is I actually took on part-time work that I could fit in around my normal working hours. And what that allowed me to do is actually build a portfolio so that when it came time to leaving my job and do the entrepreneurial leap, I had a lineup of clients and growing. A lot of people tell me you're so lucky that you get to work your passion. The fact is my passion is cooking and working out. So if it was really up to me, I'd be an athlete. The fact is that I wanted to build a particular lifestyle, which was having control of the type of work I did, being able to control my schedule, being able to travel and work without being bound to an office. And so it was the passion for that particular lifestyle that allowed me to build and drove me to build Spark Studios as a career. As an entrepreneur, work-life balance is very important for me. I actually prioritize taking care of myself, so I mostly cook a lot of what I eat. I train almost 6 times a week. I'm very diligent about my sleeping regimen. And I find that if I'm able to take care of myself, I can actually be more present and more alert in my job as an entrepreneur and founder. My advice to women who are searching for creative and financial independence is actually forget that you're a female to begin with. Seek the opportunities and earn them irrespective of your gender. In my experience, when someone actually reaches out to me and says, hey, we want to give you a seat at the table because you're a woman, I actually say, you know what? I want to be given that seat in spite of the fact that I'm a woman. I want it to be because I'm credible and that I've earned it and have the right credentials to be on that chair. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur and you're listening to this, I just want to say go for it. Don't worry about what are people going to say. Don't have imposter syndrome. Honestly, believe in yourself, put something out there in the world and see what they have to say.